Hello, my name is Titania, and welcome to the reading of the week for November 6th, 19th to the 26th. I just first off want to say if you are anywhere in BC, and I guess anywhere on the planet right now, and undergoing difficulty, my heart and thoughts are with you. We had some pretty intense flooding in British Columbia and Canada, where I am, and a lot of people have been displaced. Just adding another layer to the cake, so to speak. So I just want to send my love and my heart and my thoughts out to all of you who may be going through particularly hard times. Wherever you are, lots of love. Okay, and so if you're here with me, let's close our eyes together, pull ourselves into the present moment, and just be here now. Taking 3 nice deep breaths and letting go of whatever stress, whatever fear, whatever concerns you may be having at this moment, just letting them go. Letting yourself be here and now. And knowing that there is a broader, wiser part of you that is always there to help us, that has a broader perspective on all of life and will support us in whatever way we most need it to. We just need to remember to ask. Creator, this is your daughter Titania, and I'm here doing the reading of the week for November 19th to 26th. My intention is to be a clear channel for the information that we all most need to receive right now for our personal and collective good, and to use language that we will easily hear, understand, and integrate for our own good, and for the good of our communities and the good of our place in this beautiful planet, the world. I'd like to invite my higher self and the higher selves of all those listening to this reading now and in the future, wherever you are, your spirit is here now too, and it is adding to this energy of this reading. You are helping to pull the energy through by participating. Thank you. I'd like to ask that overlighting angel and the higher selves of all those listening to be present to facilitate this exchange and ensure that it happens in the highest and best way possible for the highest and greatest good of all those participating, all those whose lives we touch, the population of this beautiful planet, and all life here on this planet, as well as the planet herself. I'd also like to invite the 4 archangels to come and hold the 4 directions around us, creating a sacred container of light, of love, of clarity, of wisdom, of healing, of transformation, of peace. Whatever it is that collectively we're calling for, and individually what we're calling for, may we find it in this session today and carry it forward with us through this week. I invite Raphael to hold the east, Michael to hold the south, Gabriel to hold the west, and Uriel to hold the north. I thank you for being here and supporting us in our greater good. Anything that doesn't match these frequencies of love and light, clarity, wisdom, transformation, and empowerment is welcome to go now. Let's get to it, shall we? Okay. And we have the Hermit jumping out of the deck. Let's see if the Hermit comes back this reading. All right, Creator, what is it that we most need to know this week? Personally and collectively, we would really appreciate the information and the knowledge and the wisdom that will help us to be our best, to show up in our best way in the world, offering our best gift, and supporting us in being, healing, and transforming, becoming the radiant, evolved humans that we're here to be. Okay. Recent past, the influence is waning. It continues this week. We have the Hierophant, or the Pope, in other decks. This is the inner teacher. It is a major arcana. It is a card of spirituality, of growth, of becoming all that we're here to be. And this is connects to what I was saying in the opening of the reading today about how we all have a higher self that we can access if we ask it to be there and if we include it in our lives. There's a higher, broader, wiser part of us who has all the information and the solution and the connections and is connected in a bigger way to the network of life and light. And we, in our small human way, we can't hold all that. So there's more to us than just what we have here in our physical field. There's this energy of the higher self, and the Hierophant represents that energy of the broader self, the energy of our connection to the divine, our that divine self, if you will. And so this ability to go within through our meditations and tap into that energy, to tap into that wisdom and that frequency, is of course incredibly powerful and healing and supportive. This card is sitting in our recent past. Its importance continues into our present and into our future. So for the coming week ahead, remember to tap into this wisdom, this knowledge, this aspect of yourself, which is also connected to all that is, and use it for your well-being and for your greater good, and to help you show up more fully and richly in your life. I often find that when I go into my meditations, I might write my questions out before I go in, just so I know what it is that I'm wanting to understand or grasp better. And inevitably the answers come. And they may be bigger questions. Usually it's just smaller day in, day out kind of stuff. But whatever the level, I find that the solution comes, or the distinction comes, or the awareness comes that just allows me to navigate life a little bit more elegantly and smoothly and harmoniously. So this card is important. Again, because it's what we need to draw on as we go through this week. We have an eclipse, I believe, tomorrow, and full moon as well, lunar eclipse. It's interesting energies. I'm sure you've been picking up on them. Here we have the Hanged Man, another major arcana, so we have another pay attention card. This is in the position of the present. And the Hanged Man is all about pulling ourselves to a new perspective, using our awareness, our consciousness, to reframe our lives, to reframe our experience so that we are looking at life from a more resilient and helpful perspective. And this very much helps us to do that reframe, to have that reevaluation or that fresh way of looking at our lives. You think about a little kid who, bends over and puts their head between their legs and looks at the world upside down, and how fun and refreshing that is. A similar kind of quality to this energy. This is leveraging our connection to the broader, wiser part of us so that we have a more helpful and resilient reframe on our experience, so we are able to function more fully and more richly in our lives, creating experiences, contributing in ways that are meaningful and important to ourselves, to those around us, always with an awareness of this planet and our home. And are we lining up? Are we congruent? So I could go into that quite a bit more deeply, but we'll see if we need to do that. Okay. Near future, we have the Princess of Pentacles, which is a new beginning on the material level. And this is something we do need collectively. We do need a reframe on our material perspective, this reframe on how we're going to do things materially, our connection to the planet. Do we need all the stuff that we have? Do we need more stuff? We're coming up on Christmas and Black Friday and all of those things which are about consumption and about exploiting resources. And, it's not to say that if you need things and there are things that are essential in your experience, of course, that's appropriate. But it's the overconsumption, the over use of the planet in ways that are frivolous, perhaps, and not necessary, or not contributing to more life and more goodness and more beauty. There was a tanker, at least one, that's gone down. I met a woman who was involved in this, and she was telling me about this tanker that has gone down, and up on the beaches of the west coast of Vancouver Island, there's all this stuff that's washing up. And she had a couple of boxes of the things that had washed up, and it was, again, this idea of just what's frivolous. And I know there are things that are frivolous that fill our hearts with joy, but we also have a world where, especially in the Western world, where we overconsume and we have things that we think are going to fill us with joy and give us satisfaction, and they're empty and meaningless. So I guess that lecture that was coming up with this card is continuing with this one. This one here, this card here, the Princess of Pentacles, is about a new beginning, as I said, on the material level. How are we being in our lives? I think about all of those families who've lost everything in the the valley, and going a little bit further inland here in the lower mainland and in the Vancouver area, and into lower BC. Merritt having to be evacuated, and all of those houses being flooded, and people's lives destroyed. This is this energy of this fresh beginning, this fresh start. They have an opportunity. We all have an opportunity in every moment. How are we going to live our lives from this moment onwards? How are we going to be? Are we going to be intentional about everything that we bring into our experience? It takes energy, but it's also very necessary for us on this planet at this time not to be unconscious when it comes to what we're accumulating, what we're bringing into our field, what we're putting in our lives. How are we using the resources that we have? And then how are we disposing of them? The end of life. Are we passing them on to other people who can use them? Are we recycling them? Are we fixing them? Are we doing our best to be wise stewards of the resources that we have? So this energy is in the near future. So we have this. So going into Christmas, going into this time of more stuffness, Thanksgiving, the American Thanksgiving, and the Black Friday sales, and all of this stuff. Just bring some awareness and some mindfulness to this. Take a moment to really think about what it is that you want for Christmas, and is it really necessary to be giving people stuff just for the sake of giving stuff? What would be meaningful? And that can be tricky, and it takes energy, like I said, but there are always distinctions around it. So it's not that stuff is bad, but it's how intentional are we being about it? That's coming up with this energy around this card at this time. It's just, how do we as humans, evolving humans, be smarter, kinder, wiser about how we're being on the planet, how we're using our resources, how intentional are we being, and just being a little bit more mindful and wise stewards, so to speak, of the resources that we have and the ones that we're pulling into our experience. The foundation card for this week is the card of planning. So again, this idea of thoughtfulness, of consideration, I'll tell you the story. The card is of a shepherd, the picture of the shepherd. He's at the top of the highest peak, and he's gone there with his flock, and he's looking out over the rest of the area and deciding what direction he's taking his flocks in for the next little while. So it's this idea of where's your life force going to go? What are you going to be giving your attention to? Spending some time this week. The foundation card of this reading this week is this energy of planning. There's so much upheaval on the planet right now. And this isn't said to be fearful, but rather, what would you like to see? What would you like to see on the planet? What would you like your life to look like? If you could have anything, within the three-dimensional reality of being human, what would your life look like? Would you live here? Would you do the work that you're doing? Where would you be on the planet if you could be anywhere? I think we need to be gentler and looser and start to dream up a new dream for ourselves, a new possibility space. If we didn't have borders and citizenship and all of this kind of thing, if you could be on the planet anywhere, where would you be? So this card of planning, it's a wand, which is of course creativity, inspiration, and passion. So that has to be part of your planning. Your passion, your preferences, your enthusiasm, the things that bring you to life have to be part of your planning. Otherwise, life is so empty and meaningless. There's that word again. It's coming up again in the reading. So this idea of planning, of visioning your life, of considering the future you want to have. And I know, as I said, there's so much craziness happening. There's so much discombobulation. But our dreaming, our future, will help to rebalance that discombobulation. There is so much that we personally, how much we can, when we personally are in peace, we contribute to the peace of the collective. It's incredible how much energy one person in peace can counterbalance in the collective. So if you're in a peaceful space, if your life is good, if you are balanced, you don't have a house having been washed away or living in a place where there's lava flow taking your house over or something else. Or if you with this whole pandemic and vaccine mandates and lockdowns and, in Austria, people are being locked down again. And I think, well, wherever you are in your life, in your world, whatever your experiences are, whatever your perspective is on all of this, if you can be peace, if you can be peaceful within yourself and in your life and just hold that energy for the collective, for your own well-being, of course, but for the collective, it will be profound. And from that place of peacefulness, of connection to the inner self, because it's tricky to access the inner self when we are in turmoil. It can be done, but it is trickier. But being very intentional about this pulling through of the wiser self, letting that become more of an influence on our day-to-day lives. And we can access that by being more peaceful, being more centered, being more level and grounded in whatever way you need to achieve that. That walks in nature, surrounding yourself with beauty, turning off the news for a little while. You know, we can't feel anxious enough to change anything for anybody else. And that information, being informed about what's happening in the world, I know a lot of people feel that that's really, really important, but if it's leaving you in a state of fear and disempowerment and overwhelm, then that's not helping the collective either. You have to realize that it's a contributing thing one way or the other. What are you choosing to feel? How are you choosing to be in the world? And I'm not saying go put your head in the sand, but maybe pull yourself back a little bit, soften your life a little bit, get into a space of deeper connection, of broader perspective. Vision board. You know, you can start to vision from this place of what would you have if you could have anything? If there were none of the usual limitations on your human experience, or certainly the limitations we've been experiencing lately, where would you be? What would you do? How would you be looking at your life? You know, how would you want to feel? How do you want to feel in your life? Maybe start a vision board. You know, it'll give you a couple of months before the new year. Kind of get that momentum building and leverage the energy of the new moon, because the energy of the the full moon, this eclipse that we're in is going to continue for the next 6 months. So start to dream the dream and the world you want, and pull away from the world that you're being fed, or that story that's running out there. And as I said, I'm not trying to diminish anybody's suffering. That's not what's going on here. But understanding that your suffering is not helping anybody else's suffering. Your peace will help someone else's suffering. So just staying aware of that. Okay. So we have the inner teacher, leveraging, connecting with that, being intentional about reaching for that in your life, knowing that you have a broader, wiser part of you, that it's just a very small part of us that's existing in this form. And we forget that there's more to us. But there is that broader, wiser part of us that is connected to everything, to the divine, to the collective intelligence, to the universe, whatever you want to call it. That's there. So tap into that. The hanged man, we need a reframe on our current perspective. Again, an intentional unplugging perhaps from things that distress you. Pulling your energy to a good, positive place, to the best of your ability, from a place of love and a place of imagining what could be. This new future for us, this new start, fresh start on the material level. How do you want to be with your material things? How do you want your life to be? If you're surrounded by too much materiality, maybe have a look at that and let go of some of it. Free up some space in your life. We're a very materialistic culture, and it doesn't fulfill us ultimately. There may be a short satisfaction window, but it doesn't last. Unless that object is very useful and supportive of your highest and greatest life. But maybe that's what we need to be asking ourselves. Do a little bit of that Marie Kondo thing with your life. Does it spark joy, or is it useful? And then the foundation card this week is planning. But from that place of what inspires you, what fires you up, what enlivens you, and bringing that into your planning for your future. What do you want it to look like? Our world is in flux. Our culture is in flux. And we get to be part of creating what that's going to be. But if you're getting stuck up in narratives of death and destruction and everything is falling apart and going to hell in a handbasket, that's not helpful. I don't think that's the kind of future you really want to be living into. I know it isn't for me. So what kind of future do we want? And giving that some peace, some energy, and some well-being, because we're all connected, and our peace is everyone's peace. Okay, so let's get on with the card to grow on. So Creator, what is it that we need to know this week to summarize this information that we've been given about reframing our experience? What do we need to know? so we can be effective and efficient this week and be all that we want to be in our hearts and minds and experience. We got the romance card. It's kind of nice. So, romance is our card to grow on. This is our romance with life. We've seen this before. It's not to say that there isn't the possibility of romance in your direct experience. But because this is a collective reading, I usually interpret this more as being our romance with life, our own personal relationship with life. If life was your partner, what would that dance be looking like? Are you in love with life? Are you in love with your partner, your life partner, which is life? So this idea, this card to grow on this week is bringing us back to this place of, if life is our partner, how are we being in that relationship? Are we being grateful and appreciative? Are we seeing the beauty that life is always bringing us? Are we grateful for it? Are we acknowledging it? Are we in the moment with our loved one? Or are we complaining? Are we distracted? Are we not present and therefore not satisfied or fulfilled? It's kind of wonderful to realize just how much, by shifting our perspective a little bit, again, that reframe that we saw in the present card, by shifting our perspective and entering into a state of, well, romance, so to speak, of romance with life, appreciation, of gratitude, of love, of pausing to smell the roses and see the beauty and enjoy it. It really does transform who we are and transforms how we are being on the planet. And it transforms all our relationships, getting into this state of romance with life. I mean, and it's founded on the energy of love, right? Which is so powerful. However we can cultivate that is really important. So this week, your work, if you're going to call it that, is to be in love with life. To look at your life and ask yourself, how are you being as a partner in this incredible dynamic? There's a lot that we can do to transform our relationships. And when we're present and we appreciate and we have a state of gratitude, and again, being in the moment and being here now, it transforms all relationships, whether that's with an individual or our relationship with life. So I hope you have a lovely time reframing your experience to this one of love of life. And coming back to that card, the foundation card of planning, and what is it that you want? Well, what would you love your life to look like? And how could you steer your life in the direction so you can have more of that goodness in your life, that good feeling thing? So enjoy this time. And I guess I said, if the restrictions and limitations didn't exist on the planet, if we lived in a world with open boundaries, where would you go? Where would you live? Who would you want to be with? What kinds of things would you want to get up to? Really go broad. Really just dream large. It's okay to dream large. We forget how to do this when we leave our childhood behind. But it's part of this dreaming our future. We have to start somewhere. And starting with a dreaming and a visioning can really pull things towards us very powerfully. So as I said, your card to grow on this week is romance. Romance with life. Romance with yourself. And enjoying your life just that much more. And letting yourself pull more of that towards you. And adding it to your planning. What would bring more life, more spark, more joy, moreness to your experience? And again, not from that because we're looking at that material new start, right? That's that card in their near future, is that new beginnings in the level of the material, of the level of the earth element. Why not start with a beautiful vision? Okay. I think that's pretty clear. I could probably rant about it a little longer, but you don't need me to rant. Thank you for being here. Let's close with our ending prayer here. Take a deep breath and just come back to your heart. Come back to yourself. Just know that you can easily and effortlessly release all that no longer serves you in every moment, just by being present and allowing that flow to happen through you. Creator, this is your daughter Titania. I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to read here this week, once again, for myself, for all those listening, and for our collective good. I want to send appreciation and love, well-being, and peace to everyone listening to this reading and beyond. Love and peace to the planet. And anyone who's suffering anywhere, I ask that you ease their suffering, that you be with them and help them to reframe their lives in positive and empowering and enlivening ways. Help us to realize that the contrast we've been living is helping us to design our future. Help us to use that well so we can craft a beautiful, beautiful life for ourselves, for those around us, for this beautiful planet. We get to co-create magnificently with life. Just help us to have the reframes and the inspiration and the support that we need to shift ourselves into a brilliant new future and a wonderful new reality. The reading is at an end. I want to thank all those who helped to hold the space today, who helped to bring the energy through wherever you are. You are much appreciated and loved. I hope you have a beautiful week. Enjoy the eclipse. Apparently it's the longest one we've had in a long time. It's going to be like 3 hours long. But just realize that this energy is going to continue for the next 6 months. So what do you want? You being peaceful right now in the face of the global chaos and the chaos that's happening in different parts of the world to different degrees. That's the greatest gift you can give, not only to yourself, of course, but to the world. So I encourage you to find that which brings you peace. Okay, my friends, have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Friday. Lots of love.